Welcome to Conversations with the Winners. Today we're talking to Dr. Jane Chung-Do and Ilima Ho-Lastimosa. Jane and Ilima are founders of the Waimanalo Pono Research Hui. Welcome and congratulations on your award. Tell us about the group.
Aloha, I'm Ilima Ho-Lastimosa from Waimanalo, Hawaii, and we are here representing the Waimanalo Pono Research Hui, a program that we founded in February of 2017.
The Waimanalo Pono Research Hui is a group of community members from Waimanalo, which is a predominantly Native Hawaiian community, and community academic researchers who are collaborating together to bring culturally driven and community driven programs to the community of Waimanalo.
Well, this is a community campus partnership. Tell us a little bit more about the importance of this partnership and how it relates to health equity.
Having the community understand how research works was step one of our program. And so I think it's a really good melding or team that gives our people the opportunity to be the spokesperson or the person in charge.
We're going to come back to that story. And meanwhile, Jane, tell us about this from the academia perspective.
Well, I began to work with Auntie Ilima back in 2006. I was a graduate student at that time. And I just fell in love with what she was doing in the community, really galvanizing and mobilizing the community to take ownership of their health and control of their lives and restoring a lot of the Hawaiian practices that were once lost. And once I became faculty in 2011, we continued to work together. We started going for grants together. And one of the trainings that we attended together was the CBPR Partnership Academy at University of Michigan with Dr. Barbara Israel. And that was something that launched the Waimanalo Pono Research Hui. And we started really thinking about how can we bring more community members into these conversations so that they drive the research and the programming that's happening in their community. The community was already strong and had a long history of advocacy and doing programming, grassroots style. But I think it really brought us together in a collective way to have a collective voice. So to me, it's not just about doing research or doing grants or publishing. It's about these connections and relationships we have. So we've really become a family. So I think when researchers think of community research or health equity in that way, that they're personally invested, not just professionally, it really can transform the work that we do.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. You know, the Award for Health Equity is all about systems change. And Ilima, I'm going to start with you. And what was the systems change?
The researchers have to do the proposition to everyone that's present, but only the community members are able to vote whether we're going to participate and make a partnership or we're saying aloha with a smile on our face because we're not interested.
Jane, talk about the systems change from your point of view.
Yeah, I mean, building off of what Ilima shared, I think it's a lot about the empowerment, right? To make sure that the community is aware of like, what does a PI mean? Right? What does a research budget look like? How do you get grants? What does it mean when you're an author on a publication? And so a lot of that started with the education that Ilima was talking about, but also over time, these protocols that we created where the community has a voice in what happens in their community.
Take us into the community with one of the projects on one of the priorities. Ilima, which one are you excited about?
I think we have to highlight the Waimanalo Limu Hui. So like Jane mentioned, the three priorities were Aipono, La'aulapa'au, and Limu restoration. So in everything we do, we already try to provide good food, good nutrition. The pandemic has put us on a hiatus a little bit, but we've had as much as 350 people at our beach in Waimanalo doing renovation of the pond and limo restoration. It's been a crazy ride.
Jane, you want to add to that story and tell us a little bit more about it from the researcher's perspective?
Seaweed is such an important part of the Hawaiian diet as medicine and as food, but also food for the turtles and the sea life. But we've seen a depletion of seaweed all over the islands in Hawaii because of climate change, because of environmental degradation. And so her vision was that we would see limu back on the shores of Waimanalo. So that really was part of the seed that grew the conversations about what we can do. And so it's really awesome to see how the elders of the community, who are important sources of wisdom, bring back their knowledge and bring back their visions and their experiences and share that intergenerationally throughout the community. We know that gathering and community connectedness are such huge components of health, especially Hawaiian health.
A lot of us feel that the pandemic was a negative, but how Jane had mentioned about Luana wanting to see a lot of limu across the beaches in Waimanalo, May, around Mother's Day of last year, 2020. Now everything was shut down for many months prior to that. We had a carpet literally on many places throughout the island of Limu. And that was the want of the kupuna. And it was crazy. The kupuna couldn't believe it. And so our wind name in Waimanalo is Limu Li Pu'upu'u. So it's the essence, the smell that you could smell from the ocean all the way up into the mountains. And we had that for maybe 3 weeks. And my dad told me he thought he would never see that again in his life. And he could die happy.
I think that was a very, very important point to share. Tell me a little bit about the power of empowerment within a community. What happens when community has a voice?
The data, the research that happens, the data belongs to the community. We don't need 3 years of planning. We have an idea, we set the plan in motion, we get everything A to Z planned out, and then we just implement. And that's health, that's power, that's empowerment.
Of course, if we are doing research and we're saying we're trying to improve health, the community should have a say and should identify what we do, how we do it. It just makes sense to me. One of the biggest things that you should do is understand communities know what they want.
What are some of the lessons learned, some of the important components of having a successful partnership?
Ilima has a really good saying that everybody knows is must be present to win. And if you're not present, you're not there, no amount of looking at, peer-reviewed articles or reading things about the community online is going to prepare you. You got to show up.
It is relationship building, especially in a Native community, whether you're Hawaiian or Samoan or Tongan or Maori or Native American. It's all about the relationship, sharing food, sharing vision, sharing wisdom, and vice versa.
And relationships, not only with one another, but also with our environment. And I see this transformation happening and really leading to empowerment of all, not just the community, but also people in the university who believe in this work.
Always with aloha. And aloha is profound. It doesn't have a measure in the English language. And it takes a lot of understanding to understand aloha. But we try to instill in everyone to do everything always with aloha.
There's just a lot of questions, I think fiscally and administratively, that serves as barriers to the work that we do, like food, right? A lot of funders don't provide food or doesn't allow food, and food is so central to the work that we do. It brings people together and it's a cultural protocol. So when we talk about Hawaii, really trying to promote health equity in Native Hawaiian communities, I think we need land back. And that's a huge indigenous issue across the globe. It's not just Hawaii too.
We gotta think 7 generations We think 1,000 generations deep as Indigenous people. We're not thinking about today or tomorrow or last week. We're thinking about our babies that we ain't ever going to see, and they're not even going to know what we look like or our names, but they still going to be here. And that's true health for us, is longevity.
Jane and Ilima, thank you so much. And on behalf of the Community Campus Partnerships for Health and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
Thank you for joining us for this conversation, and you are invited to more conversations with the 2020 winners of the RWJF Award for Health Equity. And you can learn more about all of the winners at rwjf.org. I'm Jacinta Goda, and thank you for watching.